Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode 592 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. But more importantly, 100% Canadian, kids and cubs. Always and forever. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. So those of you who on our Lexan special called it that, Mr. Grizzly might be just so dismayed by the results that he decides to take an extra day of hibernation. That did not happen. So...
No, I was not happy with the results, of course, but it didn't stop me. It's like, look, we said this is what was going to happen. Neither one of us are surprised at this. We said he's going to win. We know it. Don't like it. There were some changes. We had what was the increase? Hang on, I got the number here. Where's the stat? Is this the stat? Yeah, there's the stat right there. So out of 99.93% of the polls that reported, 11,065,813 registered electors, voter turnout was 45.4%. Last updated at 12:49 a.m. So that means we had a 2% increase, 2.4% increase in voter turnout in this election, which is still pathetically bad. Less than 50% of the population gives a shit about who's governing us.
It's
pathetic. It's pathetic. And look, I know, we all know he held it at this time of the year because he knew he could get an easy win. It's February. It's a Thursday. It's the 27th of February. People just aren't going to turn out.
Okay, so we will get into this today, but we will not discuss only this today.
Oh,
just
no,
kids and cubs. But we will get into it.
But I'm not dismayed. I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I know. But there was some chatter there, and yesterday, and then of course, as we say usually, our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.com. We say thank you to you. And then the second question last night was whether or not I should venture asking you how your mental health is today, or whether or not I would take a pass on that. But it seems that you are doing quite well. So how's your mental health today, sir?
Actually, it's terrible. I barely slept.
There you go.
I barely slept. Yeah, so no, it's not good. I woke up every hour. So
okay. And the third question that we were wondering is whether or not you had watched the results come in on mute until you saw that it was the Doug Ford victory confirmed, so about 8 minutes into the return, or whether or not you just knew it was a foregone conclusion and just skipped it altogether.
No, I watched it. I
Sound
did
on?
watch it. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
All of
yeah.
it?
Yeah. Not all
We
of it.
were all wrong.
I watched it until it was confirmed. Yeah, I knew
Okay.
what was happening.
But until it was confirmed.
Yeah, well, it was confirmed at like 7 minutes after the
Exactly.
goal.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
no, I watched longer than that because I
Oh,
wanted
you
to
did?
see.
Okay.
Well, it's like, okay, 7
How
minutes
bad?
after the hour, they confirmed Doug Ford. Okay, that was a foregone conclusion. But I wanted to see who won in the Ottawa area. So I had to watch the scrolling chyron at the bottom till I saw my riding, saw that our friend Tyler Watt won
Yes.
in his riding for the Liberal Party. So, yeah, and Ottawa went Liberal and NDP. I think outer areas got some Conservative votes, but it was mostly Liberal NDP in the city itself. And I do want to share with you a photo from last night that Mademoiselle Fox attended the victory party for our MPP, Catherine McKinney.
I thought that would make you very happy.
She attended on it. Well, I knew she was going to win. It was like the margin of victory was like insane.
I know, right?
Nuts. I knew that was another foregone conclusion. So
Yep.
Bridget was really happy, and I'm like, no, I told you she was going to win. It wasn't even an option. Like, honestly, the other candidates, nobody really knew who they were, so they didn't have a hope in hell. Catherine is well established in the city as a city councillor, former city councillor, for a long time, and decided to run for the New Democratic Party provincially in this election. Joel Harden, the incumbent, is migrating to the federal party.
Correct.
So things will change there. Yeah. So no, that was a foregone conclusion. It was not a surprise to me at all.
Mm-hmm. But still, good news to have it confirmed. I'm very happy for Tyler.
And
very happy for Tyler.
Yeah. And here you can see we were represented last night. I wasn't in as you can see. So Mademoiselle Fox did represent on our behalf. That we were there to take some photos and have a chat. And I didn't get any audio or anything like that. I didn't attend. I just physically was not able to walk that far. I'm in a serious state of depression, and it just this is all I can do. This and walk Lola. That's it. I got nothing. I got no energy for anything else right now, which is part and parcel of that disorder, that chemical brain disorder.
Yep, indeed. Yeah. Ah, God, I hope it gets better for you soon, sir.
Me too, because this has been going on for far too long.
It's been a rough ride. I agree. Yeah. I see you. I see you. I see you, my friend. So, Doug Ford, after a display of utter contempt for voters, I'm going to talk like Trump here, like I have never seen before. I mean, listen, the guy had a plan, clearly, executed it, clearly, had success, clearly, in that he secured a third majority government, which is rare for any government at all. He's going to go down in history as one of the most successful retail politicians in Canadian history. I mean, you're not going to be able to take that away from him. It's a third consecutive majority for the first time in 1959 in Ontario. All that stuff is true. It is. He earned it strategically, as Mr. Christie said, called an election in the winter. Mother Nature cooperated a little bit in that yesterday afternoon, not very long, but at least in this area, there was when we were laughing about the weather advisory for 5 to 10 centimeters, when I saw what it fell down as. No wonder, because it was like a slip and slide. All over the place until, fortunately, it only did that for a few hours, around like between 2:30 and 3 something in the afternoon, 2 and 3 in the afternoon, and then the rest of the day kind of settled. But there was that little moment here, at least in our area. I don't know how it is anywhere else. We know that Doug Ford had wanted to go for a long time. I mean, last year we blew over $1 million in election preparation. Yeah, indeed. Yes. It's a editorial cartoon with Theo Medaklis with Doug Ford as Lucy hiking the football and Ontarians as Charlie Brown going, "Oh, again?"
Yeah. He runs up place kick. He runs up to kick a field goal or a place kick, and Doug pulls the ball away like Lucy always did.
Yep.
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. So we are Charlie Brown Ontarians. Um, so yeah, called this election, like I said, in the middle of the winter. Two parties that did not have all their candidates nominated, despite the fact that they all knew there was an election coming. We all did know, but we didn't seem to know when, right? He had blown over $1 million in sort of pre-election stuff. Sort of Blaine Higgs had done the same thing in New Brunswick, deciding when to go, not to go. But it seems like he needed a reason, was never given one until Trump started talking tariffs. Goes, there we go, protect Ontario. And then he went. And I mean, he did catch a lot of people with their pants down because even elections Ontario couldn't get their act together.
No, and normally there's a polling station in the lobby of my building. It was conspicuously absent yesterday. There were a lot less polling stations than there used to be. So let's hold the election in late February on a Thursday, and let's have less polling stations.
Yes.
I'm not saying
the shortest lead-up time, the warning that the election has come, shortest election period, shortest advance voting days, even such that, and then throw in a big snowstorm near the end that makes it such that certain Doug Ford removal kits did not arrive at their destinations on time to be able to be filled out and returned.
Yeah.
We get there on time. With Elections Canada, Elections Ontario deciding not to extend the date by which they would receive votes by mail. So at least they could be added to the total, even though they wouldn't have made a material difference, but they did not do that. So there were people who were disenfranchised.
Again, curiously conspicuous.
Curiously conspicuous. Then Al, the chat about needing to register, and then, of course, vote ID cards that would not be able to get out on time if they got out at all in certain places. Not that they were needed, but a lot of people think that they are.
Well, this is the thing. There was a lot of playing with words that confuse people. And the idea to confuse people is to dissuade them from showing up.
Yes.
And as you said, you were disenfranchised for the first time in your life.
Yes.
Because you had a mail-in ballot, because your riding is here, right? In Ottawa. So you get a mail-in ballot in Kingston. You didn't get it until the day of the election.
Yes. And they allow you to have a ballot mailed to yourself away from your home riding.
Yes.
So there's like your riding address and the mailing address you want the ballot sent to. So they know you're not at home if the postal codes don't match.
Well, here's the
comment still, that made no difference.
A comment here from PNC Bio. He says, stop complaining and vote by mail. If a person stuck in a wheelchair can figure it out, so can everybody else. I actually did vote by mail. And usually there's a polling station in the lobby of my building. Again, there was less polling stations, so I didn't even know where I was going to go to vote. I found out it was at City Hall. It was like, fine, I could have walked over, but I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do the vote by mail because I've never done that. And I thought, let's give this a go so I can get my ballot in well before Election Day. And I did. I voted like 2 weeks ago, I think.
So my complaint is I wanted to vote by mail, but my ballot did not arrive to me in time for it to be able to arrive at the voting station by 6 p.m. yesterday to count. So, like I said, Elections Ontario, given that the storm might have delayed delivery of the ballots, should have extended the deadline for those ballots in order for them to be able to count.
You know, here's the thing, though, that Linda pointed out. The 2022 election was in June. People still didn't show up, so I'm not sure these reasons are valid for why so few people showed up for this one. I think
also
what I'm trying to say is the reason Doug Ford had it when he did was he knew he would get a win. Everything worked in his favor. Difficult time of the year, difficult weather, Thursday, short run-up time. Elections Ontario didn't have time to get their act together. Less polling stations, voting by mail that people didn't get until the day of the election, and they're not accepting anything after.
Not to mention, spend at least 6 days of the campaign in another country.
Yeah.
Disappear from the media for a couple of days and have no local candidates participate in debates and do not participate in media scrums after the debates. Also show up to the debates looking directly into the camera, pretending that everyone around you doesn't exist, and just say Trump, 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 terrorists.
Yeah.
Oh, and also publish your platform 3 days before the vote with almost nothing in it. That too. So all these little acts of utter contempt and disdain for the voter accumulated. And for me, that was my turnoff. I mean, I already was not going to vote for him based on his entire record, but that type of display, um, like I said, in Canada, I have rarely seen a political campaign that was designed with that much contempt for the voter and then delivered with that much contempt for the voter as well. So, but hey, either Ontarians are so despondent or once again thought it was a foregone conclusion or whatever. But listen, we voted him in. Whoops, the camera's doing the weird thing again. So voted him in. The June 2022 thing, I'm thinking about that again too. Doug Ford did do the same thing. It's not bad weather there, but June 22 we're cottage. June 22 is right before sort of like Saint Jean weekend. So particularly if you're in Eastern Ontario, probably crossing the border for those celebrations, you're getting ready for Canada Day as well. And it was 2022 June, so everybody was pretty much checked out of politics because every day, every morning, for a long time, the prime minister was on our TV sets giving us a daily update, and then we had that news conference, whatnot. So politics was absolutely everywhere in our lives, right? We had stay-at-home orders, and I mean, every day we were hearing about something government and the last thing people wanted. Doug Ford took the right time, took the right time to go, and he got his majority, and the prime minister tried to. But the prime minister, when he tried something similar just a few months earlier, he was not rewarded with it, right? So I don't know if he just after the federal election just figured out that people were too electioned out and then went at that time. But he had similar conditions that people were just checked out of politics at that point too, even though it was the whole other season. That seems to be Doug Ford's thing, this pick the easy fight. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if we have a federal election, if Pierre does lose. This is the next couple of months, Doug Ford just looks at his Ontario guy buds and say, you know what, hey, I secured you 4 years, so go ahead and do that. I'm going to run for the Conservative leadership now because I want to be Prime Minister one day. Wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him just dump the job as soon as the opportunity shows up, because he's thinking, if they lose, well, now after 4 Liberal terms, I'm guaranteed to be Prime Minister next time. All I have to do is just sit here.
Yeah.
Which is how he kind of became Prime Minister of Ontario. Right? Just sort of slid on in at a moment where everybody knew that the next government could be Conservative, and all he had to do was show up and smile. So, and now here we are, 2 more majorities later. But for Doug Ford, even though it's a win, it's not a total win. Not a total win, because Doug Ford wanted very specifically, he wanted a bigger majority. He already had a majority in a whole other year in his term. He had everything he needed, and he said he needed to protect Ontario. Well, I mean, that's the job. He doesn't need a new mandate for that. So, okay, I'm going to pass right by that because I think that that comment is very unfair.
It's not about us. It's not about us. No, it's not about us.
All right.
No, it's not about us at all. You're missing that. That was
okay.
Sarcasm. It's got nothing to do with us and everything to do with the province of Ontario. It's a tongue-in-cheek commentary.
Okay.
So you took that personally when it's not aimed at us at all. It's just we do democracy.
Yes.
The damn fam does democracy. This is a statement on the province of Ontario.
Gotcha.
Democracy is something you do when it's easy for you.
Yes.
Nothing to do with us. No.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Because I did take that the wrong way.
Yeah, that happens. It happens. It doesn't always come across in the written word, right? But I got the point being made immediately. We're basically saying thanks Ontario for just doing things that are convenient.
Indeed. So at dissolution,
Mhm.
Doug Ford had 79 seats. He had won 83 seats in the previous election. He emerged from this election with 80. So 1 seat more than he had at dissolution, but that's because there were 4 vacant seats. But 3 fewer than he had. However, he did up his vote share by about 2%. The Ontario NDP got out of it with 27 seats, so that's down 4 seats from the election total. Oh, come on. This thing's weird. Down 4 seats from the election total last time, and with a significant enough decrease in vote share, greater than 5%, I would say.
Well, didn't the Conservatives lose seats in this election?
Yes, they lost 3.
They lost 3 seats, yes.
They lost 3 from the election last time.
Correct.
They've gained 1 from dissolution because they had 79 at dissolution. But their vote share, last time they got 40% of the vote, 40.43 or something. Now they got 42.97. So more people vote in an election where a few more people voted. They got more votes.
And here's the puzzling thing. I was watching the ticker last night, and it was showing the Liberal had a much larger percentage of votes than the NDP did, but the NDP had more seats. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Because the NDP's vote is more efficient. It's like the Green vote.
Okay.
It's concentrated in certain ridings, whereas the Liberal vote is all over. So it's sort of like federally, the Green vote.
Okay.
The Green vote versus the Bloc vote, right? The Greens get more votes than the Bloc, but the Greens get 2 seats and the Bloc get 53 because their vote is concentrated.
Okay.
It's very, very efficient.
I was trying to make sense of that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how that math works. It doesn't.
There are certain regions in Ontario, southwestern Ontario, Hamilton area, London, Ontario, northern Ontario, where some places downtown Ottawa, where the NDP vote is very, very, very concentrated. So they get a lot of seats for a little bit of vote. So as Mr. Grizzly mentioned, for the Liberals, the vote share went up. They're the party whose vote share went up the most from the previous election, and they've climbed. They had 8 seats in the previous election, 9 at dissolution because they won 1 by-election somewhere along the way, and ended up with 14, which is only 5 more seats for that much gain. They needed, if they had crossed like 31 or something like this, that would have probably gone up to like 22 seats or something. There would have been 8 or 9 more seats out of it. So just a 2 or 3 more percentage of vote global would have translated into far more seats. But they did cross the 1.5 million votes total last night. We were wondering if that would be the case before we were signing off. But they do return to official party status, which will help them a lot with financing and get them more on TV because they will get automatic questions during question period. But the BC Party of Ontario was really, really, really hoping, very, very much hoping, in order to get a bigger majority, sort of Nova Scotia style, so that they could have that supermajority and bypass a few of the basic conventions with regard to determining what's going to be on the order paper and stuff of the like.
Well, you can see the map that I've put on the screen there. Northern Ontario is basically all NDP. So I can see how they get less percentage of votes because those are very large ridings that do not have a lot of people living in them.
Yes, and then if you look down, probably in the GTA area and Kitchener and like this, you will see lots of in little blocks, but lots of orange, very concentrated.
And Niagara did the funny thing. There's like, let's take a look. If you look at Niagara here, you can see, okay, there's NDP, there's NBT. And Niagara West, Sam Oosterhoff got reelected. I'm like, really?
Yes. I
think that's a large Dutch fundamentalist is what it's called. Particular.
I think, Dutch reformist or something. Yeah.
Pardon?
Good. Yeah. So, but people were wondering about those ones, those 3, whether or not they would all remain conservatives or some would remain in the NDP column, because it's right next to the border and there are a lot of jobs there. And Doug Ford is campaigning on protecting the border, and the job is in Ontario. But that didn't. The NDP was able to concentrate its resources in those ridings and keep them in their column. So Doug Ford did not get the supermajority he wanted. So in one way, it is a failure. I mean, he's the one that set the bar.
Mhm.
And there were certain models that were predicting that he could walk away with up to 104 seats last night, with both the NDP and the Ontario Liberals without official party status. It seems that the difference was in voters who were extremely enthusiastic about voting, which, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, based on public surveying by Relay Strategies, in the last day, they had presented 3 turnout models, just the basic generic one with the top line numbers, one weighted to the turnout among women and young voters in 2022, and then one weighted to the turnout among those who said that they were extremely excited to vote. And out of all of the respondents of the survey, 49% had said that they were extremely excited to vote. And among them had the highest proportion of support for Liberals at 31%, and for the NDP as well there. And, well, 31% based on that turnout model, 29.95 was the actual. That was the one that ended up being closest. So the people who were motivated to vote were very motivated to vote and very motivated to vote not Doug.
Mhm.
There just weren't enough.
Certainly seems that way.
So for the Liberals, the campaign actually did matter. And when Bonnie Crombie was saying that she was feeling some momentum, so like she was feeling it because she was knocking on doors, talking to Liberals that were highly motivated to vote and letting her know that they were going to come. And they did.
Well, and I watched some of her speech. I couldn't watch the whole thing because I'm like, why are you so happy? You lost
Yes.
your seat. She's like, well, we're official party status now. They made it back to official party status. You didn't win anything, though.
Yes. Not
You
even
did
your own.
nothing. Yeah, like you've done nothing. Evan Scrimshaw, of course, immediately said she has to step down. I'm like, I agree with you. It's not going to happen, but I agree with
Well, she says she's staying.
him. The party
Caucus
might
still has
say,
a couple of things to say about that yet. So we'll, but since you mentioned Evan Scrimshaw, listen, we were reading results, and like I said, it like just popped up. You know, when your email notification comes in, it was like Evan Scrimshaw, Bonnie Crombie must resign right now. So okay, so we know how he feels. But here it is. It was 2 years ago tomorrow that I got to speak with Nate Erskine-Smith as he trial ballooned his run for OLP leader. I would say I interviewed him for the site, but it was hardly an interview. I asked 3 policy questions, ran the transcript as an article, and spent more time talking about baseball and John Prine and the Leafs than any policy questions. I wanted to get a sense of the man who was thinking of running, confident that policy questions were in more than capable hands. But one of the few I did actually ask was about why the Ontario Liberals were his preferred progressive vehicle, and I've thought a lot about this portion of Nate's answer since he told me it. Bonnie Crombie has failed catastrophically tonight, failing at her first goal of winning the next election, and then failing at her second goal of 30 seats, as articulated in that Toronto Star profile in December, and now failing to be the official opposition, also failing to secure her own seat. Bonnie's entire leadership was premised around the idea that she could win, that she had the right combination of experience, name recognition, and ideological placement to win. She has failed. Through a combination of arrogance, petulance, lies, and incompetence, she has hired badly, she has believed her own hype, and she has allowed the PCs to advance in their own marginal seats where she was supposed to be strong. She was supposed to be a leader who could reconnect with the center that had been abandoned, but instead the PCs have kept the center anyways. Crombie didn't run in the Milton by-election, allegedly because being in the legislature wouldn't be helpful, but staying outside of it didn't end with her doing more events or meeting more people. She dashed from policy to policy without concern for coherence, failed to articulate a sense of self that had any continuity in it, ignored and waved away signs that what she was doing wasn't working, and now we're here. Nothing Bonnie Crombie has said in the 453 days of her leadership came close to being a coherent, concise, and honest reflection of who they are and what they're in politics to achieve, as what Nate said to me 2 years ago. Nothing, I suspect, because she doesn't know. The Ontario Liberal Party is still on life support right now, and the culprit is the leader, who was promised a bill of goods by her advisors and then sold us all one. And to understand just how much damage Bonnie Crombie has done to the Ontario Liberal Party, we have to go through these last 2 years, if only so we never let our party be taken advantage of by the vain and selfish again. Ooh, okay. It was exceedingly clear from January 2023 onwards that the elites of the Ontario Liberals were trying to find a star candidate for leader. The draft Mike Schreiner letter, which was still one of the most offensive propositions in modern politics, was an effort by the party's past to influence the party when their influence is responsible for us being in this space. The Ontario Liberal Party's original sin was not getting rid of Wynne in 2016 when they lost the Scarborough Rouge River by-election, called 2 more by-elections for the fall, treated a 14% swing against them in Vanier like it was a victory, and then held on against all sense. That moment was failure from the party elites. Those elites then got their choice in 2020, and then Del Duca failed and only gained 1 seat, and at no point did any of the elites of this party think they might be the problem. So when Schreiner turned them down, they went star hunting some more, offering Bonnie Crombie a deal that was too good to be true. At the time, the rumors were that she was told she would be essentially coronated, which the party was certainly willing to enable on some level. Key decisions like punting all debates until after the registration deadline, allowing 1 single polling place per riding, and requiring in-person voting and restricting voting to 1 single day per riding were all made to protect her, and she nearly lost. Leadership debates proved difficult for her as her propensity for notes didn't play well in the more cut-and-thrust nature of a debate. She found herself routinely flailing to answer questions she wasn't prepared for, and she never showed a willingness to engage with her record as mayor of Mississauga on housing, a record that was plainly disastrous. Her decision to pivot late to a YIMBY housing position probably won her the race because it undercut a key attack of Nate Erskine-Smith's, but her record as mayor was never dealt with. Her campaign showed from an early point that it wasn't running well when she decided to turn an eminently reasonable point of Nate's, that this rebuild is a 2-election rebuild and that he is a candidate of generational change, into evidence of his sexism. It was an utterly bad faith attack, and one that showed that Crombie had little capacity to engage in either good faith or good strategic form to legitimate concerns about her. Eventually she won, immediately set about a fundraising goal she was able to say she achieved, ripped up the party's support for a carbon price, and mostly wasted the next 6 months. The Liberals didn't air any ads while Crombie was defined as a tax and spend Liberal and a Trudeau supporter despite that big post-leadership victory fundraising haul. They lost the Milton by-election and suffered a swing against them in the seat, and then did nothing. They made a bad bet on a beer liberalization by making their opposition to the policy a big talking point despite the fact nobody cared, and then went away for a while. They tried to relaunch her leadership at convention, but made the story of the weekend an utterly clumsy attempt to get rid of an automatic leadership review if she lost that ended up being walked back. They eventually did relaunch her with a leader's dinner speech that, to my knowledge, was never released publicly and that I've certainly never seen, but botched that by relaunching in December when nobody cared about politics. They released a tax cut at some point. That's fine. And a doctor's policy, that's pretty good too. But it's all just varying shades of meh. The platform is whatever. Beyond the big announcements, we decided to announce 90 new schools with the platform instead as a part of a specific announcement. The rest of the education policy, which emphasizes investment into curriculum and policy over personnel and a reprioritization of safe, well-resourced classrooms, is not something that will be missed by educators or those in their orbit. In many ways, it was, as was the rest of her offer, a reflection of her leadership and vision for the party. Unambitious, uninspiring, and demonstrated a clear lack of necessary self-reflection, which should have come after her narrow win. The lack of ambition can be defended as a measure of what she wanted to be, a more moderate centrist leader, but that is misleading. The reason is that's not who Crombie has been. If Crombie had been a clear and consistent advocate for a set of beliefs, whatever those beliefs were, this campaign would have at least told us something about what works and what doesn't. This leadership has been a disaster in how inconsistent it is, lacking a through line or any connective tissue between ideas. The decision to hire Tom Allison was a disaster. The Milton by-election, where the Liberals suffered a swing against in a key marginal seat, should never have happened. Those in the inner circle who were subsequently shuffled down or should never have been there, but it is a testament to Crombie's terrible political instincts. Crombie, per sources, once floated the idea of flying the Ontario Liberal caucus to the Hamptons for her first caucus retreat, an idea so insane it had to be immediately rejected. That she didn't understand the optics of that was a horrifying sign early in her leadership that she was unserious. Her decision not to run in Milton around the same time was spun as an opportunity to allow her to spend more time around the province, but it was political cowardice out of fear she'd lose. It was also expensive cowardice from a leader who, by virtue of not having a seat and not running and winning Milton, needed to take a considerable party salary at a time when a lot of people had to step and do the actual work for free or for a nominal pay. So, given that she wasn't an MP, she was not getting an MP salary, but still needed to eat. So she had to be paid a salary from party funds, it would appear, which means that those were funds that did not go into actually boosting the party campaign. Yeah, I can see what that would be a problem afterwards in a situation like this. In December, had it paid off, though, nobody would be complaining. In December 2023, the Liberals raised $1.2 million, a sign that Crombie's fundraising prowess was a boon to the party. In the next 2 fiscal quarters, they didn't break $1 million either time. At that time, the PCs were slaughtering them on the air during the meatiest part of the sports schedule, and the Liberals never hit back. Impressions of Crombie hardened because the Liberals didn't have the money to attack. For a leader who allegedly raised $1.2 million in a month to fail to raise that much in either Q1 or Q2 should have been a disaster. That Q2 number of 954,000 included the proceeds from a cocktail reception with Mark Carney in Toronto, and yet it was still less than robust. This weakness was a key talking point of Crombie. That she could raise the money to fight. That the party was unable to compete is not an act of God, but a result of her failures. Her obsession with Ontario Place and the Science Centre was an absurdity that never made any sense. There was never any compelling data that it was an issue that moved votes, and as much as I tried to care about it, I couldn't. It's even worse given that we didn't even win Eglinton Loris, in addition to the opportunity cost of spending so much time and effort on that instead of broader issues that affect far more Ontarians. And in that district in particular, Eglinton Lawrence, not only did Liberals not win it, and it was a close race, but the Greens actually finished third in that one. Ontario Science Centre, right? And that was one of Merritt Stiles' critiques of Merritt Stiles as well, is that they spent so much time in the first 2 weeks on the Ontario Science Centre and Ontario Place when people it wasn't registering, people weren't caring about it. Continuing on, that opportunity cost was born out in the summer of nothingness. There was no ambition, there was no strategy, there was nothing happening for months. Efforts to get the leadership to do events, do a tour, or make announcements were rebuffed. The whole argument that she didn't run in Milton was shot to bits by the lack of publicity and messaging in the summer months. If you want to be charitable to the Liberals, the circumstances of the election, a PCPO riding high on the back of Trump's tariff threats and Ford Captain Canada routine, were not good for them. In a sense, it's true, and I would say that there is a reasonable standard to hold them to below that of Bonnie's one-term win pledge. That said, we knew the Trump tariffs were announced when the bulk of the reporting into the 25 gain stuff was put into the Star profile, so there's only so much leniency you get. There's also the Carney of it all. It is actually accurate to say that Crombie did better tonight in seats and votes than she was polling 4 weeks ago. That's true, and a key argument for the idea she deserves another go. The problem is the federal Liberals have as well, is Crombie is polling better because of her campaign, which has been marred by screw-ups and scandal, or because Justin Trudeau is gone now and the boat anchor around the Liberals is gone. Which one did the contribution to her? So it's not really clear. And that's one of the things when she said she's staying is, I mentioned on the show, would be her capacity to fundraise. If she has proved that she's a good fundraiser, they might keep her. The case for her is very mitigated in the sense that, she did get them to nearly 30%. Didn't cross 30% technically, but for all intents and purposes, if you're rounding up, 29.95 is 30. But she didn't physically cross the 30, but did bring them there, did get them back to official party status, but it's only 2 seats above status. Not that hard. And she is able to raise some money sometimes, but not. So that's what I'm saying. It's like the party might be saying, thank you for getting us official party status, but
time to go.
You still don't have a seat. And yeah, the fundraising wasn't all that great. And we needed 31 to at least be able to come out with above the Ontario NDP, and we didn't do that either. So except I'm because Doug Ford has a majority, if they do want to give her a chance, there's no real reason that there's a need to dump her in the first 2 years. You want to have a little leadership race later and introduce something new. But in this case, it might also just be a good idea to wipe the slate clean and give the new person a full 4 years.
This is what I'm thinking. I mean,
right? It's you never know if Doug Ford's going to call another snap election. He did say he wants to be premier forever.
Yeah,
So
I
he
think
might
people
find
go,
another
"Oh,
dip
he was
somewhere in
just
the next
joking."
port.
No, he
Yeah.
wasn't joking. He wants that. He wants to
If
be
he
prime minister, but he doesn't speak enough French.
if he keeps on picking up majorities and then picking up the dip in the 4 years to call a snap election and then keeps on winning them, he could be premier. He could
Well,
arrange it that way, right?
yeah, there's no term limits, right?
Especially if the opposition parties keep on fielding this type of candidate.
Yeah, we don't have a situation like in the U.S. where you can only run for 2 terms as president. Here in Canada, you keep getting reelected. You keep getting reelected. It's as simple as that. The people speak. The people speak. You know.
Yep, indeed. Continuing on with Evan.
He could be the premier for life.
Yes. Continuing on with Evan, who clearly has a lot to say here. The honest truth is that Crombie has flipped less than 10 PC seats red. That is unacceptably low number, given what Crombie said she could do. They were talking about 25 gains, mostly from the PCs, and now that we're here, that number is 6 as of publishing. The only thing that has changed is now Crombie has failed, and people are trying to maintain their positions. If you had told people this result in December or October or July or March or any point in the 453 days since Crombie took over, nobody would have viewed this result as acceptable. In people's hearts, they have to know this isn't acceptable. But now we're here, and for the reasons of personal self-interest, feigned ignorance of that basic truth, or sheer idiocy, they're pretending this is acceptable. It's not. She couldn't even win her own F&C. And yeah, again, I would have to say that Evan has a point here based on expectations they set for themselves, and just by virtue of the fact that they took a former mayor who apparently had all this big name recognition and was sort of conservatish to try to steal away the center conservative vote away from Doug Ford. Yeah, I agree. Everybody would have said that this type of result going in is unacceptable. With that type of effort, there's no doubt. Because if I'm going back and making the case, saying like this, well, almost 30% and 14 seats and back to official party status and whatnot, that's stretching. It's making a case, and it's there. It's slim, but it's stretching. Bonnie campaigned on the idea that the Liberal Party was still the institution that we all want to believe it is, this venerable institution that should be in high office and is merely suffering from an aberration. That was why she said repeatedly we could go third to first. She was offended at Nate saying the truth that this was a 2-election proposition for that reason. Now she's trying to survive by claiming to have exceeded a bar she strenuously opposed lowering to this point. The problem for Crombie and her defenders is that you can't claim you've done the best you could have with this campaign. The candidate vetting crises were just unacceptable. Former Pierre Poilievre nomination candidates, misogynists, and whatever the Oshawa candidate was, and served as a distraction for a crucial week of the campaign. Before the chorus of, quote, "we were planning for a spring election" comes, the second Chrystia Freeland resigned, it was obvious this would be when Ford would call an election, given his whole reason for going was getting in before Trudeau was gone. And before you think that's revisionism, I wrote it at the time. Then he links to him having written it. The debate performance was pretty bad, too. A stilted performance that exemplified all of her troubles in that format in the leadership race. It was fine on some level. She got through the lines well enough, but as a holistic performance, it wasn't inspiring, which was our assessment as well. Against a premier as all-encompassingly terrible as Doug Ford, we needed a stellar performance, and we got a mediocre one, emblematic of the campaign as a whole. Bonnie's only case for staying as leader is that she deserves every benefit of the doubt despite loudly proclaiming she would never need it. Her staying would now be asking for the good faith of her opponents when they have the upper hand, despite slandering her opponent in bad faith as a sexist to win the job. She's asking for something she hasn't earned. We need a leader who can leverage social media and earned media to create a sense of momentum and forward progress to defeat Doug Ford. We need a candidate who could be spontaneous, eloquent, honest, and reflective to defeat Doug Ford. We need a leader who will admit their flaws and their failures instead of pretending they haven't held radically different positions. We need a leader who is honest with the party and with the province. We need better. I don't know if we deserve better because fundamentally this is on a lot of people. This pathetic, horrible result has made it harder for us to dislodge a bad government and to restore Ontario to its best days. I will never accept that this is good enough because it's not. Bonnie Crombie cannot be the future, having failed so clearly in the present. Her leadership has been marred not by our successes, but the dogs that never hunted. We stuck an announcement on building 90 schools in the platform instead of doing events every day for weakened communities that needed them. Yeah, that was pretty dumb. Our climate policy is to build some transit, widen some highways in congested areas, and come up with a Made in Ontario policy to replace the carbon tax. That's it. Doug Ford runs Ontario like a Timu Tony Soprano, and the platform is silent on any form of proactive anti-corruption measures. That never even occurred to me. But yeah, Ontario could use a Charbonneau Commission. Just saying. Christine Elliott is now lobbying for a private, so could Alberta. Christine Elliott is now lobbying for a private healthcare company after being deputy premier and health minister. And we didn't think that banning former elected officials from lobbying for 5 years, up from the current 12 months, would be smart. No value in making some form of standing commission into a corruption with a broad remit and powers of the part of the platform. That would be a Charbonneau Commission. If you wanted a way to show distance from McGuinty and win, that would have helped. One of Bonnie's attack lines has been that Doug Ford is spending more than ever and getting less and less for it in terms of services. It's true. There is lip service given to the idea of looking for efficiencies to pay for services, but no focus on it. Instead of making the progressive case for a tripartisan commission of audit, they stuck some efficiency reviews in the platform and let the NDP call it Doge Light. This would be unfathomable if it wasn't so predictable. Bonnie Crombie showed us in 2023 she was the wrong person to lead our party and somehow underperformed even under the lowered bars of expectations tonight. It is a dishonor to all of us that we even let her win. The failure that was inevitable the moment she won has happened, and now she must depart. She has done enough damage to this party and to this province. May it be her epitaph that she enabled whatever horrors come in Ford's next term. Yikes. And I saw that there was something on a piece of paper, but I was reading the article, so I couldn't see what was on it. $20 for TNB from Rhetorica Inc.
Yeah, $20 for True North Eager Beaver.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rhetorica Incorporated. I believe that is Mademoiselle Fox's consulting company. Yes. Correct. Thank you very much. Very, very appreciated. Yay. I think other than our corporate sponsors, it's our first corporate donation. Yay. Yes. You are the first, Mademoiselle Fox. Thank you so very much. That makes me feel good. Donations from friendly sources always make one feel good. Yes. Indeed. So there you go. Bonnie Crombie, as seen by Evan Scrimshaw, a lot of good points in there. None of them can be denied. He's
always on.
These are factual.
I don't always like what he has to say, but I can never disagree with him. I have yet to find a salient point that I would just say no. I don't. No, it's as simple as that. He's sometimes his verbiage is different than what I would use to describe a situation, but that might be an age thing because I'm more than twice his age.
Yes.
But
and he's a little more cynical than I am.
Yes. But I never disagree with him. It's like, he's a great writer. It's as simple as that. He's a great writer, and his commentary is always spot on. Again, it's said differently than I would, but I think that might be a generational thing, which I'm completely fine with because he's speaking to the younger generation, and they need to hear what he has to say, and they're a little bit more blunt. Gen Z and they're just Gen Z's a little bit more blunt, as simple as that, and I can appreciate that.
Yep, indeed.
Why tiptoe around a situation when you can cut straight through it and get to it?
Yeah. So now, with all of that, the Greens maintained their 2 seats, came very close to securing the third in Muskoka Parry Sound. It was like fewer than 3,000 votes difference between there, and finished third in two other electoral ridings. So now they've got 5 seats to be working on, to throwing some money in and to slowly grow their thing. Mike Schreiner won his seat by no problem.
Yeah. I've got to wonder, what is it going to take for the province of Ontario to recognize we're being run by a mob boss, a wannabe mob boss? What has he got to do next?
Yep.
I really think that there's so many people in this province that just don't hate the Liberals, and I will bet you there were a ton of people last night voting. Got to get rid of that Trudeau. I'll bet you there was a ton of people like that last night. Probably. Just like there was in British Columbia.
Yep.
I can guarantee you of that.
I don't think Ontarians are going to believe it from Doug Ford until they see Doug Ford sitting at a table with the Trump family.
Yeah.
Doug Ford really wants a seat at the table with the Trump family.
Oh, yeah.
Doug Ford wants to be part of the Trump family.
Okay, this is a funny one from PNC Bio. Toonie Tokes. Buck a beer, Toonie Tokes. Yeah, well.
Don't worry. Don't put it past him.
Don't put it. Isn't he lowering the price of alcohol in the province of Ontario as part of his platform?
Yes, he wants to lower the minimum price now for alcohol because that's what we need.
Idea.
Yes, that's the one thing this province needs.
Yeah,
lower minimum price for booze.
I'd be lying if I said, I'd be a hypocrite to say, hey, I like that I can go to the corner store and get a can of beer when I want a beer. I do. I love the convenience of it. To tell you otherwise would be a lie. And I'm not a liar.
I'm not a fan of everybody else being able to, though.
Well, no, I don't even have a problem with that. My problem is it's how it was implemented. They did it too quickly. It's costing us too much money.
Yes.
He could have waited.
He could have ran on that in this election and then not have to cancel the contract.
And then January 2026 would have saved us $280 million right off the hop, or 280, over $200 million right off the hop, right? By not canceling the contract, number one. And number two, the lost revenue through the LCBO, which we will never recover because LCBO is a crown corp, if you will, for the province, and all of its profits go back into the province. Once their costs are covered, profits go back into the province, and something like $2 billion a year is what LCBO puts into the province of Ontario. So yeah, we're not being run by smart people.
No, we are not. We are not.
And unfortunately, enough people turned up to vote that thought, I think that guy's doing a good job.
Yep. That sucking sound that you hear, that's the sound of the siphon being turned on that will extract all of Ontario's wealth and just ship it directly into the United States.
Well,
thanks to Doug's AmCan project that he's going to be working on for the next 4 years.
And consider the fact that we here in Centretown, Ottawa, and West and South did not vote Conservative. So he's going to completely ignore the shit out of us for the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Again.
He thinks Ottawa is, not in Ontario.
Except for when he stops by to visit the mayor.
Yeah.
And his wife, who apparently likes Doug Ford more than she likes her own husband. Allegedly, according to Doug Ford. So he jokes, ha 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 ha, because Doug Ford jokes are so funny.
Well, we don't have any, the PNC Bio. Maybe we now get all the excess profit from 7-Eleven. There's no 7-Elevens left in Ottawa. In Ottawa, they were all purchased by Quickie a number of years ago, like 15 years ago, I think. So,
something like that,
the dine-in 7-Eleven, you can have a beer in the 7-Eleven. You can't do that in Ottawa. Can't. And I don't know if there's any 7-Eleven stores on the Quebec side. I think it's all Provisoire. Or Winks. Well, no, Winks is an Ontario thing, which used to be Max, which is now Circle K. So, yeah, I think it's all Provisoire. And I don't know if they have Circle K in Quebec. I haven't crossed the river in some months since I don't have a car anymore.
Yeah, indeed. So, for the Greens, they're good. Mike Schreiner, good. Won a seat very handily, almost 3-1 margin. People love him. He's going to be around for a while. The NDP, Marit Stiles won her seat handily, no problem. It's going to be there are going to be some questions whether or not they continue with her, though. However, because lower seat count and lower vote count, yes, they're still the official opposition. It was still a little jarred by watching the NDP headquarters when CBC had confirmed that they were the official opposition. They seemed very, very happy. Very, very satisfied that they beat the Liberals, but it's like
that was not your goal.
That was not your goal, and the other guy still got a majority.
Yeah, I watched
it's
that.
4 more years of everything that you believe in having a knife stabbed through it.
I was watching that, and I was thinking to myself, "What's in the water they're drinking at that gathering? Because you didn't win anything. You got a couple more seats. Congratulations, but
fewer.
Oh, fewer. That's right. They have fewer seats.
They have fewer seats.
Your official opposition with fewer seats than the last time. What are you cheering for? You can cheer Merritt for winning her riding, but that's it. You got nothing else to cheer about. I'm like, you're delusional if you think that was a glorious moment. You had your butt handed to you by
and this,
a guy who runs a party who is really, really not that smart.
and I mean, and if you're looking at the NDP, just in the 2018 election, Andrea Horvath made the NDP total jump from 18 to 40 seats. Then, in the election that followed, they dropped from 40 to 31 seats. Merritt Stiles had that party that had 31 seats. There were 3 seats lost in the meantime, so they had 28 at dissolution. And they emerge from this election with 1 fewer than they had at dissolution and 4 fewer than they had at the last election. The popular vote, they received 23.7% of the vote in 2022. They received 18.55%. That's a 5% drop. And a drop in seats. Normally, a leader would not stay after that. But they are still the official position, so maybe that'll be enough. The NDP does like giving their leaders several shots, but it didn't happen. By standard sort of political conventions, she should go. Bonnie Crombie should definitely be shown the door.
Oh, without question.
And there even would be some questions in conservative land whether or not Doug Ford there'll start to be some backbiting. Because while Doug Ford did get 80, it's still 3 or fewer. The vote share did go up. I mean, nothing should change, but he didn't get them the big, beautiful supermajority that. I mean, we did all of this only for the conservatives to basically tread water.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a stronger majority than he had before. I mean, all this new stuff, this more bigger mandate that he needed allegedly in order to be able to protect Ontario better than he was able to before. He doesn't have any additional powers now than he did before call this election. He's the exact same place. But now allegedly he's going to be spinning this as being able to fight to protect Ontario better. But if I'm in the PCs, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, you know what? This is your 3rd term, and people are going to start getting tired of you too. You might want to go after a year, Doug. Before the knife, he's probably got about a year and a half before the knives start coming out. Somehow.
You think? Yeah.
He didn't grow the majority. That's what they campaigned on. Yeah.
That's a good point. It's maybe he gets a year and a half to 2 years, and then it will be the light
Before the sniping starts.
Of the long night. Yeah.
Yep.
They're like, come on, Doug. Where's Therm? How much you want to bet Therm does not open in the next 4 years?
That would be something.
I'll bet you they don't even put a shovel in the ground in the next 4 years. Mark it on the calendar.
Okay. Bold predictions.
They may get it started. I don't think they will. I guarantee you it will not be completed or open by the time he's in the next election. Won't be.
All right.
Because he'll be lobbying for casino license. He doesn't want a spa. He wants a casino. You know that.
Who's he going to lobby? He has the authority to grant it, doesn't he?
I don't know. OLGC has to confirm, and then he can't just hand out one. It doesn't work that way. They have to go through the process. You have to apply. Therm would have to apply, or whomever is going to run that casino. He can't just give it to them. OLGC has to award them a license if they meet the criteria. It's not so simple. Even he's not a king. He'd like to think he is. He can't just hand it over.
Okay.
He can't.
Okay. before we go anywhere else on this, I'm noticing that the challenge has started. We forgot to announce it. So the goal ends in 19 minutes. We have 3 out of 50 teal super chats here. It says if we get 50, we have a dance party.
That
Is it
would be
really
next
50?
Saturday. Well, I put it to 50, just kind of
Okay.
lofty goal. Lofty goal.
Okay.
$250. It's not out of the ordinary.
No, I don't know. I don't know about the amount. It just says 3 out of 50. So I don't know if that's 50 donations
50
or
memberships, which means $5 each, which is $250.
okay. Okay,
That's the
excellent.
goal for today. I
All
gave it a
right.
60-minute. I don't know if I can change that or not. No, I don't think I can change it. I
Oh.
could extend it.
Okay, might be a good idea to extend it because I didn't mention it when it
Can't
started.
extend it.
Oh darn. Okay,
No, I can't extend it.
I should have mentioned it when it started. I'm so sorry, kids and cubs. I had just noticed it because I was reading from notes and therefore was not in the chat. All right, so we have the Kits here just looking to see. Kit Saucy, NDP and Liberals seem to have the same problem where they prefer to fight for second place rather than first, or working together to remove a corrupt government. I agree. Kit PNC Bio, both the NDP and Liberals in Ontario have lost 3 straight actions to the most unqualified person imaginable. Perhaps they could start behaving like they're failing unbelievably badly. Yeah, indeed. So yeah, that's the situation for parties. That's where we stand. I heard a comment somewhere saying that Doug Ford maybe not winning as big as he had hoped might actually be a good thing because at least he has a caucus that is somewhat manageable. Sometimes you can win too big, and then people get restless because there are no goodies for them. And idle hands are the devil's workshop when you're in politics. So that could have, might not end up being a bad thing overall. But listen, we're going to see what's going to happen. But I predict that it is not going to be all that long before the full transition from Captain Canada to, hey, buddy, let's work closer together. And, how about we, how about you come and visit us at Ford Fest, eh? Starts happening.
Oh yeah, well, nothing's changed. Like you say, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and they stayed the same. So we're just going to get raked over the coals for the next 4 years by Doug Ford and his merry band of thugs. In other news, I want to migrate away from Doug because I've basically had my fill.
Yes, please.
Carlos Slim, who is a Mexican billionaire, he orders to cancel his collaboration with Elon Musk's Starlink. So Slim's company, America Mobile, announced plans to invest $22 billion over the next 3 years to enhance its telecom infrastructure. This move is seen as a strategic effort to strengthen its position in the market and reduce dependency on external partners like Starlink. The decision is expected to have a substantial financial impact on Musk's company, which had anticipated a lucrative partnership in Latin America. The fallout between Slim and Musk was further exacerbated by the controversial tweet from Musk, which implied connections between Slim and organized crime. This accusation, although unproven, added fuel to the already strained relationship between the two business tycoons. By opting to develop its own infrastructure, America Mobile aims to maintain control over its operations and ensure the reliability of its services. This decision marks a significant shift in the dynamics of the telecom industry in Latin America, highlighting the competitive nature of the market and the strategic maneuvers of its key players. And in other news, EU officially begins work on an $11 billion Starlink rival, Iris-2. The European Union has committed $6.2 billion to the project, which will involve 290 satellites across different orbits. Private satellite companies in Europe will pick up the rest of the tab. So basically what's happening is he's being shown the door because people are sick of his bullshit.
Yep. And this is just the beginning. This is a sign that the other nations are starting to collaborate amongst each other. The Canadas and the New Zealands and the Australias and the EUs and the Brazils and the South Africas and all these sort of middle nations. If we all work together and coordinate as a block, we can make a lot of lives very, very miserable.
Well, this is what is currently happening because people are like, here's the thing. You don't have the power. We do.
Yeah. And we're doing the same thing in Canada, right? Going ahead with that deal that we mentioned with Telesat. But that's going to be our Starlink.
Yes,
when those go up
absolutely.
there. And we do already have companies. I mean, Starlink, somebody did lose that bid in Ontario to Starlink. So there are people in Ontario who are already able to provide that service right now.
Correct. Well, and we need to insist that Doug tears up the Starlink contract because $100 million seems to be outrageously expensive because it should not cost anywhere near that.
No.
Shouldn't cost anywhere near that.
He could
It's just a
connect
big
all the
kickback.
people that he could connect to all the people that $100 million is going to connect by giving each individual person a refund check for whatever it would cost them to just hook up to Starlink themselves. That will come in under 3 million. So don't know where the other 97 million is for. Oh, wait a minute. It says, I volunteer as tribute. I believe that's what it says. There is no amount of our money that is too good to volunteer as tribute. If you're Doug Ford. Clearly. So I am glad that you mentioned that, Mr. Grizzly, because it's nice to see Latin America. You know what? Go get bent. We'll do it. Good. Whoever that guy is, that's what I mean. There are a few billionaires out there. A few. Who also don't like Elon. So they might band together.
Tata in India, he's a billionaire. You don't become a billionaire by doing nice things for people, but he seems to have a bit of morals and a conscience. When one of his fellow billionaires in Mumbai built the largest, most expensive house on earth, he was like, this is disgusting. There are people starving in the streets across the street from your house, and this is what you build? Disgusted by it. And not only that, but he builds the cheapest cars on earth for people to purchase so that they can become upwardly mobile. In many ways, and this is going to sound strange, in many ways he's like Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a vicious anti-Semite. That's not up for debate. But Henry Ford did believe in a 40-hour work week for employees, weekends off, and pay them a wage that enabled them to be upwardly mobile. They could actually buy the products they were making from him. He recognized that if you pay people well, they work harder, your productivity goes up better. If you give them a 40-hour work week and weekends off, they actually work harder. They get more done in an 8-hour day than they did if they worked a 12-hour day, because it's simple. Studies have shown in an 8-hour workday, 5 hours are productive. 5.
About that.
I'd like to go back to a 7.5-hour workday. I mean, right now I'm only doing like 3, and there's not really any money involved. But I'd like to have a 7.5-hour workday again. I haven't had that in a few years because when the company got bought, they moved me to a 40-hour, 8-hour workday. So anyway.
Indeed. I see in the chat that we have a new Kit Connie M, who had joined us. New subscriber here, just found your channel. Welcome. Pull up a log. Make yourself comfortable. And since I'm mentioning Connie's, a happy belated birthday to the other Kit Connie, who you've seen on the show a few times if you're a long-term fan. So I wished Connie happy birthday already, but not on the show. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is Kit Mohan's half birthday, half today, half tomorrow, because he's a February 29th baby.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes, if I'm remembering correctly. So happy half a birthday to you today, and happy half a birthday to you tomorrow, sir.
I want to share a video.
So nice. A kid's so nice. We celebrate his birthday twice.
Indeed. I want to share a video with you of soon to be stepping down Charlie Angus, Member of Parliament, for, I can't remember the name of his riding, Northern Ontario. Charlie
I know what this video is.
Have you seen it?
I saw it this morning. Yep.
Charlie went out yesterday, and Charlie was not too happy with a bunch of Putin supporters. So people here in Ottawa of the Ukrainian diaspora were protesting in front of the Russian embassy yesterday. The Russian embassy is not far from here, right. maybe a few kilometers. I've been by it a million times. And they were protesting in front of it with Ukrainian flags, and then a couple of Putin supporters showed up, and Charlie had some things to say about that.
Yeah, that's for sure, dude.
I was jumped, robbed, and beaten.
Ooh, you're a Putin troll.
I was jumped, robbed, and beaten.
Fuck off, Putin troll. Fuck off, Putin troll. Fuck off, Putin troll. Yeah, you stand outside the Russian embassy and
I came here specifically to see you.
Fuck off,
I came here
Putin
for
troll.
you. You and your party. Actually, Peter drew me.
So yeah, Charlie really has no fucks left to give.
And if he had any few, I think he just dropped the few he had left in that video.
He doesn't give a shit anymore. And I get it. Look, you got to remember something. Charlie Angus was a punk rocker. He still is a punk rocker in many respects. He was in a punk rock band. He still plays guitar. He still likes to sing and have a good time. And he literally has no fucks left to give. None. And he is letting people know his exact thoughts. Now, he will not speak like that in the House of Commons because he does respect the decorum in the House.
Absolutely.
But on the street, he's going to speak his mind. And he just did. There's another angle of it. I just haven't been able to find it. I'm not sure where it was, where I think it was actually, so that angle had Chris Stacey, the guy filming Charlie Angus there. I think there's another angle of Chris Stacey's actual footage, but I could be wrong. I saw it earlier, but Chris Stacey's he's a shit disturbing convoy supporting ignorant asshole. And I'll call him exactly that because that's what he is. That's what he is.
Okay. That's a fair comment. Somebody in the chat here had made a comment about Canada and Italy had been talking closer together recently about something. And fortunately, I appear to have lost it, which I wish I could remember. So I'm sorry, whoever had put that, if you would put it back up in the chat again, I would really appreciate that. But one other bit of news that came out along with that is that Canada is also working way closer with Germany. All of a sudden, it has come up. Global News says that Canada looks to diversify trade with Germany amid U.S. tariff threats. Now, Germany, out of all the EU economies, is probably the largest one. So this is a very good deal. So these news stories are going to start popping up a lot more and more. You can hear different countries working together with this coming up. But this one, Canada and Germany, this is fast because the Prime Minister was just in Europe, right? Brussels and France. Didn't even visit Germany. But this is still working. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that are happening really fast. Canadian companies and diplomats are working with their European colleagues to find ways to diversify trade as the U.S. threatens to impose steep tariffs. Quote, "We want to be part of the solution in terms of creating new business opportunities and diversifying trade," said Thorvin Bellman, Germany's ambassador to Canada. She was speaking at a press briefing Wednesday ahead of the Hannover Messe, the world's largest trade fair. It's an annual event in Germany, and Canada is this year's partner country. Quote, "It's truly a timely opportunity given the geopolitical circumstances and all the discussion here in the country about the need to diversify trade," Bellman said. She said she's one of the European ambassadors in Ottawa who have been talking with each other and with corporations, researchers, and government officials on both sides of the Atlantic about ways to boost trade. Bellman said that there's a lot of interest in capitalizing on a trade deal that Canada and the European Union signed in 2017. Quote, "I'm asking the question to interlocutors throughout Canada that I meet with. How can we make CETA," that's the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement with Europe, "even more operational," she said. Both sides have work to do on identifying opportunities. And that's, by the way, the acronym for CETA is, I keep on mistakenly thinking in my head that it's the Canada-European Trade Agreement, CE. It's the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, known as CETA. It just happens that the C and E happen to also mean Canada and Europe. But it is not the official name, so just a little bit of trivia there. Liberal MP Ryan Turnbull said Canada is looking to Europe as a counterbalance as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens to impose damaging tariffs on Canada and its European partners. And if Canada wants another willing partner, I would suggest picking up the phone and calling Polish President Donald Tusk. because Donald Tusk doesn't have much love for either Elon Musk or Donald Trump. And I certainly would be very happy to make a deal.
I like Donald Tusk, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with him, if you have never seen a picture of him, he looks like Fraser Crane.
Yes.
He does.
And I believe that before, like, this is his sort of second political career as leader of Poland. He was a bigwig somewhere.
With the European Union, European Parliament.
Yes. From 2014 to 2019, he was the president of the European Council, and from 2019 to 2022, the president of European People's Party. Yeah. So he's been around. Like, when he was elected leader of Poland, goes like, I know that name. This is not a new name to me.
Yeah.
So
he's a serious customer, to say the least. I have a great deal of respect for the man and his works. He doesn't pull his punches. The way he talks, I really appreciate, because although he has an extensive vocabulary, he doesn't do Jordan Peterson talking in circles. He will use as few words as possible to get his point across in the most erudite manner imaginable. And he does it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. So with regard to this thing with Germany, it had started a little bit a while ago, though, because in 2022, then German Chancellor Olaf Scholz had come to Canada to visit in Newfoundland, and said at that time that Canada would take center stage at this year's big event, the Hanover Messe. Since then, and I believe that they were talking about an energy deal at that time as well. Since then, Industry Canada has been doing briefings with Canadian corporations and possible partners on multiple continents to lay the groundwork for deals to be signed. So it's going to be interesting to see when this conference finishes taking place, and say Canada signs, X number of $1 billion of deals or whatever. Canadian companies will have a prominent physical space at the fair, and they will help lead various sessions. They include the Eureka Summit on research projects geared towards commercialization. Canada will be the first non-European country to co-chair that session. Canada joined the EU's large Horizon Europe Research Fund in 2023. So while we are not members, we are not members of the EU, certain cooperative agreements or associations, such as this one here. So this is good. This is very good to make those closer links. Stéphane Lessard, Acting Director General for European Affairs at Global Affairs Canada, said Germany shares with Canada values that are, quote, being challenged around the world, and Ottawa is seeking partnerships on innovation and research that have longer timelines than trade in goods. Quote, Canada is looking for friends that share our values, so this really matters, he said. Jason Myers, head of Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, said he's gone to the event in previous years and saw one Canadian company get $5 million investment on the spot. Quote, it's an opportunity for Canadian companies to meet with new suppliers, new innovation partners, to see what is leading edge, said Myers, whose group leads one of Ottawa's 5 innovation clusters. These discussions are much more important than ever. He said Canadian companies are looking to partner this year with companies using artificial intelligence, quantum technology, and robotics to improve the products, especially in Germany's large especially in Germany's large automotive and machinery sectors. Myers said he was pleasantly surprised to see few companies have pulled out of the Canadian delegation since Trump tariffs threats began. He said nearly 250 companies are sending roughly 280 delegates, along with 1,000 Canadian attendees. Earlier this month, Germany's Diplomatic Missions and Trade Agency released a joint statement with the Canadian-German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, saying that Berlin wants more trade and investment with Canada. It noted that bilateral trade endured throughout COVID-19 pandemic, and there is room to improve. We don't reap CETA's full potential, the statement reads. Bellman said Trump's trade threats haven't hurt German investment in Canada, but corporations elsewhere are waiting for more certainty. Quote, a lot of investment decisions are not being taken at the moment, which is something we regret, she said, adding that the EU is ready to impose retaliatory tariffs, but hopes Trump administration backs down. Quote, we don't believe we should start dividing the world up into mutual tariff barriers and tariff threats. So, interesting to know that the work has indeed already begun to start diversifying our trade, and that's just going to continue.
I can guarantee you it was in the works months ago when it looked like that Trump might win. They're like, we got to get to work on other trade deals because we know this guy's going to try and screw us. They knew damn well he would come up and say, "That was the worst deal ever signed." You mean the one you negotiated and signed yourself back in 2018?
Yeah, the guy said some idiot must have signed that. It was like,
Yeah, that was you.
You realize that idiot is you, right?
But he refuses to acknowledge that. This is what a narcissist does. No, it wasn't me. No, somebody else did it. Here's a picture of you, a videotape of you actually signing it with all the other signatories on it. No, it wasn't me. No, that's fake news. AI. AI was not advanced nearly enough at the time to do that. The man is a narcissist. Oh, I did get something here from Rhetorica Inc.
$250. I can't read the rest. Unfortunately, the light's glaring on it.
Dance. $250 is done. I want to dance. So, yeah, she sent $270 today from Rhetorica Inc.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Well, she sent it to my account, so I'm just going to use it to pay for our advertising.
Okay.
That'll cover our cost.
So even though, but that won't register on the thing. So do we count it?
We'll count it. Our goal was 250. We got 270. I think we should count it.
Okay.
So she wants a dance party this evening, but here's the thing: you're supposed to appear on Environmental Coffee House's podcast this evening. What time is that at?
I do not know as of yet. Unfortunately, we have not settled on a time. I believe it's 9 p.m., but I'm not sure.
Okay, well,
because I believe we're in different time zones.
It could be. I'm not sure. Well, ordinarily, Foxy Friday starts at 7 p.m. Last week it started at 8 because we had to juggle some things. So we could. I can try and get something together for the dance party tonight. Looks like you're wearing a muumuu there, Dan. I'll try and get it together for this evening. Okay, so Foxy Fridays will be a dance party. And I'll put it on. I'll be able to put it on. I'll put it through her channel and our channel and a couple of others. I'll just change things up for this evening. So I don't know. Well, obviously it'll only be a live one-off show. We won't be able to ever replay it because it's going to have a million copyright violations because of the music. But that's okay. That's okay.
All right.
I got to build a playlist now. Thanks, guys. I got to build a playlist now.
Okay, it has to. My song of the moment is Gaga's Abracadabra, so it has to be in there.
Okay, just send in your requests via email, okay? And I'll try and get to as many of them as I can.
Oh man. All right. Yes, I do. Now. I do not see the Italy comment come back up here in my chat, Kits and Cubs. So I'm so sorry that I missed it. I saw it very quickly.
It was from Linda M, and she was talking about watching a video where we're looking at trade agreements with Italy along with some cybersecurity.
Good stuff. Okay, thank you so much. So these things are happening. There's pressure around, and I know that you had mentioned Elon Musk a little earlier. There's lots of talk about trying to hit Tesla specifically. I don't think in Canada we have anything that allows us to target a specific company if it's not sanctions. Like specifically, right? But in terms of tariffs, I don't think we have that type of regime. We can a sector or an industry, but not a specific company. I do not believe it's possible.
I do want to address something here when it comes to Tesla. I keep seeing people vandalizing Tesla automobiles and cyber trucks, and I get and understand your anger, but you're taking it out on the wrong person. You're vandalizing somebody's personal property because you're mad at Elon Musk. So that vehicle owner now has to make an insurance claim to get the repairs done or get paint stripped off, or you're adding to their burden. Now I get it. Okay, if they can afford that vehicle, they can probably afford the repair. Sure, correct. But it's not helping anything, and it's not fixing the problem. I get you're mad at Elon Musk. So am I. But I'm not going to destroy my neighbor's Tesla because of Elon Musk's company. this guy bought this vehicle to try and protect the environment, save money on gas, not add to greenhouse gases, not pollute anymore. This person did the thing that they could because they thought, well, yeah, I can afford to do this. I will get that vehicle because it's a cleaner, greener product to use. Yes, I will make that purchase. I am upset at people who are going around vandalizing personal vehicles of individuals who do not own the company, or even, for that matter, I've seen people putting bumper stickers on, I bought this before I knew he was a Nazi.
Yep. I've seen people project stuff onto the back of the flatbed type thing. So I can then take pictures and stuff so that doesn't vandalize the car, but you still get your shot.
Well, this is from playing with 3D. If you want to vandalize anything, vandalize his stock price like he's doing himself.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's exactly what I was. Exactly. This is exactly what I was going to mention. The other thing that I've noticed, or that people I've heard from other shows, is that people are doing what's called bird watching. So whenever they see either a Trump property or a Tesla vehicle, they picture themselves flipping the bird and then post the picture. And they call it bird watching. So if anybody would like, that's probably a better option than actually vandalizing someone else's vehicle. Just stand next to it, flipping the bird to the car, and then post it. It's probably an expression of your frustration that will not end up with an arrest record or criminal charges. For you.
Interesting comment from T. Wigmore here. Says, not sure about the motives of buying a Tesla, whatever make and model. Seems more about social status purchase than environmental. I think in many cases that does play into it. I don't doubt that for a second. And I got a friend of mine pointed out to me many years ago. She says, oh, this is stupid. We were pulling up to a shopping center. We had to get something to go to some party somewhere. This is quite a number of years ago. And she goes, what the hell is this shit? And I looked, green parking spots right near the front where physically challenged and pregnant mothers. She says, this is bullshit. That's elitist. It should not exist. And this is somebody who earns bucket loads of money and works in the automobile industry, and said, this is stupid. If I had an electric car, I would never use that spot. That's elitist, and I disagree with it. Because at the time she made that statement, Teslas were over 100K. The Model 3 didn't exist. So if you owned an electric car, it was a very expensive automobile. Now, what we need to do is get BYD in here. And I know people get mad at me for saying that, but you want people to adopt electric? Because as of 2030, they're not going to sell internal combustion engines in North America anymore. And if the big three don't start making something quicker, BYD will come in and eat your lunch.
Yeah.
And they can come in through Mexico, by the way.
Now, speaking of Tesla stock, the inauguration was January 20th. January 15th, Tesla stock was at its peak at $428.22 US is where it closed. Yesterday, it closed at $281.95 US. That is a 34.16% drop since January 15th.
It's tanking.
So he's losing a lot of money on his baby. Fortunately for Elon, however, he's recuperating a lot of that in either changes to regulations and social welfare and direct contributions from the U.S. Treasury into his whole other stuff like
it's all
SpaceX and SpaceX and all that kind of stuff. But
it's just a way to rob you.
Yes. So while you are cheering that Tesla stock is going down, and rightfully so, do watch the other side of the ledger, the amount of money from the U.S. Treasury that's going to subsidize all his other little projects at the same time. But hey, at least Tesla, where people can vote, people are voting. And a lot of people are not too keen with this person having this much power and zero accountability. So, we'll see how long that loving lasts. And but yeah, just little interesting tidbits. Now, the following thing that I have for you, kits and cubs, comes with trigger warning. I don't know what to say trigger warning, what for. So I'm going to say for gender-based violence and losing family members to violent crime.
Okay.
As you know, Kits and Cubs, one of the big stories in Manitoba for the past couple of years has been the issue of searching that landfill for the bodies of 4 Indigenous women who had their lives taken from them. The person who did that has been tried and convicted and is serving their sentence. But you will remember that those who loved these women and cared for them very much wanted to have the Prairie Green landfill searched for their bodies. And they were told, no, not a chance. No, we can't because it's not safe. We can't because it's not this. And even had in the most recent provincial election, a party campaign to the general public on not wanting to search this landfill. Yes, and campaigning on it as a virtue that they would not do this, which caused a lot of people, particularly the daughters of some of the people who were disposed of in this way, to very vociferously and vigorously and strenuously remind us that people are not trash. Because apparently we needed to be reminded of that. That wasn't just obvious to us. It didn't strike us. Well, Premier Rob Canoe ran on doing the search. Didn't have to do that. Then fulfilled his promise. Again, I mean, once you promise it, you should do it, but Creator knows that we've had promises that have been made that have not been respected before. But he kept his word. Yesterday, we got some news. This is from Santiago Arias Orozco from CBC. Potential human remains have been found at the Prairie Green landfill north of Winnipeg, according to experts on the site who have been searching for the remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron, 2 of the 4 women murdered serial killer in 2022. Manitoba Premier Wab Canoe told reporters at a news conference the possible remains were found Wednesday morning by a search team, which began the excavation at the landfill in December. The remains were assessed by a second search team as per protocol and then by 2 forensic anthropologists. Families were then notified of the discovery and they spent the rest of the day at the landfill, Canoe said. Quote, "We found what we believe is somebody's loved one," Canoe said. "I don't think any of us will ever forget today. This has been so public and long in the making. Now we're at the stage where maybe we're going to be able to move forward with healing and closure." Manitoba RCMP are now involved in the investigation at the site and identification efforts are underway, Canoe said. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is also involved. Canoe said there's still a lot of uncertainty around the discovery. Quote, "We also need to bear in mind which of the 2 families will receive this news or potentially another family," he said. "It will be at least a couple of weeks before the examination process is completed," Canoe said, and in the meantime, he asked the public to respect the identification process. In a news release announcing the potential discovery, the province also asked for respect for the family's privacy at this time, a message reiterated by the Premier. Quote, "This is about 2 families who have been going through a grieving process in a very difficult and public way," Canoe said. The person who committed these crimes was convicted in July 2024 of 4 counts of first-degree murder in the killings of 4 women in Winnipeg in 2022. In addition to Harrison Myron, he was found guilty in the deaths of Rebecca Comtois, 24, and a still unidentified woman who has been given the name of Mashkodi Bishikikwe, or Buffalo Woman, by community leaders. It's believed Harris, 39, and Myron, 26, both originally from Long Plain First Nation, were killed in early May 2022. Investigators believe Comtois was the last woman killed by this serial killer on May 14th or 15th, 2022. They believed he killed Buffalo Woman in March of that year. Comtois' partial remains were found in a garbage bin in Winnipeg in mid-May of that year. More of her remains were found at the city-run Brady Road landfill in June 2022. On the same morning, Comtois' remains were found in the Winnipeg garbage bin. The remains of Harrison Myron in a dumpster a few blocks away were picked up by a garbage truck, courts heard during the serial killer's trial last year. It wasn't until June 20th, 2022 that police realized their remains had been taken to the privately run Prairie Green landfill in the rural municipality of Rosser, just north of Winnipeg. By then, more than 10,000 more loads of garbage had been dumped there. In October 2024, excavators started moving material away from an area of the landfill where Harrison Myron's remains were believed to be, after an environmental assessment was completed earlier that year. Canoe said while there wasn't a specific item that led to Wednesday's discovery, multiple objects had been found in the landfill that have helped narrow the search. The expertise of the people on site led them to continue searching this part of the landfill, which today turned up what the experts are telling us are human remains, he said. The province has previously said the landfill search could continue into early 2026 and would involve sifting through garbage from a total area of 100 by 200 meters, or about 4 football fields, to a maximum depth of about 10 meters, which is just over 30 feet.
Yeah,
Deep.
about 35 feet.
Yeah. The discovery of potential human remains at the landfill, quote, is a painful but significant moment in our collective fight for justice, Kyra Wilson, Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, said in a news release Wednesday. Quote, while this discovery brings grief, it also reinforces our commitment to ensuring that no family is left without answers and that justice is served for our stolen sisters, Wilson's statement said. She also said the search is a matter of human dignity, affirming that when Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people go missing, they are looked for. We do not let their final resting place be a landfill, Wilson said. The Grand Chief also said the search, quote, should never have taken this long and that the road to the discovery was filled with obstacles, quote, that never should have been placed. Wilson said the discovery proves that justice is possible when there is political will and commitment. During the last provincial election, the then Progressive Conservatives campaigned on their opposition to a landfill search. In advertisements, the party said, quote, for health and safety reasons, the answer on the landfill date just has to be no. Canoe's NDP, which won the Ontario 23 election, promised during the campaign to launch a search. Quote, these families really made us do the right thing, Canoe said on Wednesday. Hilda Anderson-Piers, an advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, said Wednesday's discovery should be a wake-up call for Canada to implement the 231 calls for justice made by the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls in 2019, which are intended to address the root causes of violence against First Nations. We deserve to live a safe life, and we should not have to live in fear and wonder. Are we going to be murdered? Are we going to be missing our bodies? Anderson-Piers said. Canoe said the search was paused while the potential human remains were assessed, but it will resume on Thursday. Quote, I hope there is closure coming for one family, but we have to keep working for the other family, he said. Now, kids and cubs, there was, I'm hoping to be able to find it here. Yeah, here it is. This is a video that's just under 4 minutes that I'm going to send to Mr. Grizzly to show to you. And this is one of the daughters of the women they are looking for. This person speaks to my heart and has from the beginning. I have seen her quoted several times.
Yeah, I know this video.
This is Morgan Harris.
Yeah, I saw this.
It's going to be tough to watch. But if there is one thing you watch today, it should be this. And please don't just watch it in passing or while doing something else. Listen to every damn word.
Faites attention.
When I heard this yesterday, again, it's not expected, and I wasn't expecting it so soon because of how hard we had to fight for this and how hard we've been fighting for the past 2 years. I wasn't prepared myself. I did not prepare myself for it happening so soon. When I got the call yesterday, my heart dropped right down to my stomach, and my first thought was Kathy. I knew she would be really proud of how far we made it and how far we fought and how far we've gotten even without her being here, and how far she's fought for us. I know she'd be very, very, very proud of where we are and how far I've gotten myself, because I remember when this all started, it was very, very hard on me. I remember I was dropping out of school and I didn't see myself making it too far in life after I found out about my mom, because I just turned 18. I just became an adult without my mother. And yesterday, all I could think about was I want my mom. No one should go through any type of heartbreak without their mom. Yesterday, when I left the landfill, I felt like I was abandoning her again. I felt like I was leaving her. No family, no person should go through what we went through. And again, to every one of you that said no, to every one of you that didn't believe in us, do better. Do better. How could you? How can you say no to somebody's little girl? That's my mom in there. That's family in there. And it's absolutely disgusting to hear anybody talk about my mother like that. And I'm very proud of how far I've made it without her. That I've graduated and that I'm living on my own and I'm doing a lot better than where I was 2 years ago. And I'm on my journey of healing. But every day I just think I want my mom. I want her to be there for me. Because it's so hard. It's really hard going out there. It's hard watching even simple movies. Because you see all these movies with loving families and having that parent system next to you to be there for you. It's heartbreaking to know I'm never going to be able to get that. And I want you all to think of that for every one of single of you who said no to the police system, to the government. You sit there and think about this. Think about how disgustingly you treated us. And think of how far we made it, even though you said no. Look where we made it. Look where we are now, and we're not done. Not at all.
Pretty serious stuff.
Yep. That young woman deserves to have the world given to her.
Yeah. I saw that, was it yesterday, I think? And it's not easy to watch. It's, look, ordinarily
You have
I'd
to watch
probably be, well, ordinarily I'd probably be weeping, but right now I have serious depression, nothing in the tank. I feel nothing right now, which is pretty terrible, but I feel nothing right now. And it's not anything to do with what we just watched, because I can hear those words and put them into my brain and go, that is horrible, that's terrible. Unfortunately, with depression, there are times when you feel nothing, and right now I feel nothing.
Yeah.
Not nothing for her, just nothing. Period.
Yep.
So that's why I'm not visibly moved. Normally I would be. I'm just in a bad spot right now.
Yeah.
I thought it was important for me to explain that.
Yep.
Because anybody who knows me would go, wait a minute, what's going on? Yeah, no, that's why I'm so blank faced right now. I hear those words and I think that young woman has just endured so much and somehow found the strength to come up and talk like she did.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. When she talks about seeing movies and the family stuff and it's not there, I was like, that's a feeling I know. Not because I lost a parents because someone took their life. You know, I still had my mom. But the growing up in the foster care system and whatnot, and you know, you see all these movies, all this family getting together at Christmas and all that love and stuff, and it's like that's not my home. I've never had that. I don't know what that's like. You know, like this family's coming back from college with a load of laundry and family dinner. I don't know what that's like.
mhm.
I don't. I don't. All family getting together when you graduate university and having like this big party for you. I don't know what that's like.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Like,
all
I see it all
foreign to
around.
you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I see everybody have it, but that's not for me. Right? That feeling that's not for me. That's not my life. And every time you see it, and you're exposed to it, and it's there over and over and over again, and that's not you. Like
Mhm.
that was not meant for you. That's and my mom was alive.
Yeah.
I was just in a foster home. So I do have Christmas memories with my mom.
Mhm.
Just not the big ones with, the whole family and everybody coming and even family arguments. Like I don't even have that because it wasn't. So yeah, it's one of the reasons because if I'm quivering inside as I'm
Mhm.
talking about this, and I was just removed from the home and put in another one and couldn't see my mom.
But you knew she was still there.
I knew she was still there and we were always on phone, but when she was in the hospital, like sometimes it would be months,
Mhm.
right? And when you're 9, 2 months not seeing your mom is forever, right? The concept of
Yeah.
time when you're a 9-year-old and 8-year-old, it's
Yeah. Massive difference, right?
yeah. So as an adult, I can say, it's my beaver sweetie went to Japan for 3 months in our first 2 years of dating because he had an opportunity. So I could,
Mhm.
with only 3 months, it was tough, but there's there's FaceTime and there's all that kind of stuff. We'll make it happen. At 9 with no technology like FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. It's a different reality. And then you go to school every day and everybody's
Mhm.
going back home to their parents every time there's a form to be signed. Have your parents sign that. I don't have one. I'm a Crown Ward. I actually
Right.
legally don't have parents anymore. And they never say your parent or your guardian or your parent or foster parents. So you're always excluded or you always until you get that, okay, well, yes, you can bring it to your foster parent or son, but every time you get something signed to your parent, you're like, you get this moment of, it's not terror, but of, I really want to go on that field trip, but I don't have a parent who can sign. Does that mean I can't go? Huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to be excluded. I'm going to be set. And again, when you're 7, 8, 9, 10, going on that field trip and not being singled out and standing out in any way when you already stand out because you are the foster kid. Especially if you moved in the upper scale neighborhood and you're still wearing the byway and giant tiger clothes and getting laughed at. It just comes up again and again and again and again. And like I said, I still had my mom alive. When they're gone, when both my parents had passed away, even though my mom had passed away for several years before, and then I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad because I was just never raised with him. there was something about the finality of it all.
Mhm.
Right? Hit me. It just hit me that all of a sudden it is final, even though I didn't really have much.
Mm.
So there's something about death, the finality of death, that makes whatever it is that I felt with just separation exponentially more powerful. That leaves even more indelible marks on the brain. And then add that it's not only death, but a very violent death. And
Yes.
you're aware of it.
Yeah, that adds to it, doesn't it?
Because there's someone being taken away from you by life, but let's say they had a long life or illness or whatnot, and then there's just someone just being taken away.
Mm-hmm. Disappeared, as they say.
This young lady is the best of us. To go through all that and have that poise, that determination to take what I am sure is anger.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of anger and
And
rage.
every right to be angry.
Righteous anger and rage. And to channel it so intently and precisely towards something good.
Mm-hmm.
And maintaining your poise and maintaining your focus on the objective. Despite a lot emotionally going on, a lot that's really dark and messy. Every time I see her or hear her speak, I think I cannot possibly gain any more admiration because I've reached the maximum of admiration I can have for. I find more. She comes and gets me. When they talk warrior spirit, she's got it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
If she's leading a parade, I want to follow.
Can we reach out to her, see if we can get her to come in and have a chat with us so we can give her more airtime?
I have no idea how to reach out to her in any way, shape, or form.
We'll see if we can find maybe one of the kids and Cubs can direct us. I'd love to be able to get her to come in and just say, the floor is yours. Say whatever you want to say for as long as you want. You know, this is YouTube. We can go for days if we want. You are welcome to say what you need to say. And we will not interrupt. We will not interject. We will not correct. We will just listen.
Canadians who make us proud.
Indeed.
We're just really devastated that this had to be the way.
Yeah, no shit.
Can you take over for a second, please?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
no problem.
to melt down for a sec.
Yeah, go ahead. Just put yourself on mute and do what you got to do to take care of yourself. Compose. I'm going to run a clip, and they're going to have to give you folks a bit of a trigger warning on this clip. It's from the CBC. It's from CBC Newsnet Live. This is just a few seconds. I'm just going to give a possible trigger warning because it may be upsetting to a few people. So here we go.
You know, I was thinking back to when we were all told no, right? When the Winnipeg police told us no. You know, when the government, Heather Stephenson, told us no. You know, that couldn't be done and that it wouldn't be done. You know what, to hell with all you guys, because it got done. You know, and it's just beginning, you know.
strong words because they were initially told no. Elle Harris also spoke at this news conference. She was only 18 years old a couple years ago when she found out that her mother, Morgan Harris, had been murdered. She also reacting strongly to being told for a couple years there that there would be no search for her mother's body, and now that potentially it may.
Well, we saw what she had to say earlier, so we're going to see if we can reach out and find her, Elle Harris, if she'd like to come and have a chat with us. And like I said, the floor is yours. You know.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my camera hasn't come back there for some reason. For those who are listening on audio, the second female voice was Melissa Robinson, who's a cousin of Morgan Harris. Here. All right. I think I'm close to the end of the show. Unless you have something, Mr. Grizzly.
There's a couple of little things I have here and there, but just bear with me till I pull them up. There was I just wanted to. I'm going to try and lighten the mood right now because
Yes.
some heavy duty stuff, right? First, before I lighten the mood, I want to highlight something from Warren Kinsella, which was an interesting statement. I thought, well, that's interesting. He says, and Carney's bland banker mind may account for some of the conservative side, but Trump is the main reason, and y'all know it. Tories. They're not Tories, but so why not run attack ads on Trump as well as Carney? We both know you won't, ever. Voters do too. The conservatives will not, under any circumstances, attack Donald Trump.
Oh God, no.
Because they're in lockstep with him. So they'll attack a Canadian who is fighting for Canadians.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what they're doing. In other news, I wanted to share this because there's two things on the screen here I'm going to lift us up a little bit now. This one from Craig Searle is on the main, and the one on the side is pretty good too. CJ the DJ. This is from Craig Searle. It's Friday, dudes. Let's rock and drink coffee. And CJ the DJ over here on the right says, my happy ass hasn't been this excited about Freaking Friday since last Freaking Friday. So
it's a donkey.
I thought a donkey laughing. Yeah, like donkey. I thought it would be incumbent upon me to try and lighten the mood a little bit and end the show on a positive note, because that was some really heavy duty stuff that we just talked about and watched a video thereof. A young woman who's deeply troubled and pained and has risen through it and risen above it and will not take white people's bullshit.
Yeah.
I fully realize I'm a white people. I fully realize that. I'm not one of those
but not that kind of white people.
I'm not that white people. Yeah.
Yeah. Some great comments from the kits here about that. Kit Linda M. In the story, it said that when they found the remains, they paused for a day to allow for ceremony before coming in and removing them for forensics. Okay. Kit Hugh, understand this. There is not a single First Nation, Métis, or Inuit family that hasn't lost someone. Not a single family. Kit Connie, I could not have kept my composure as she did. She is so strong and courageous. Kit Nona S. Hugs to me. I was lucky I was dropped off to be babysat and my mom never came back, but I was blessed to have the family she left me at. Wow.
Yeah.
I see, that's one difference is I knew I was wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But
I have something very positive to end the
Wow.
show on today. And it's sports related, but it is political at the same time. And I don't know if anybody's or who's seen this yet, but I think it's worth a share. Mr. Beaver, you had pointed this out. You highlighted it, and I thought, yeah, more of this, please. More of this.
Place where that embodies for me the ideals and morals of what not just football and a team is, but what life is. And that's integrity, respect, and the belief that good people can do great things together. And so if I have one message to our president, it's lay off the ridiculous rhetoric about Canada being the 51st state. As an American, I'm ashamed, right, of the arrogance and disregard that we've shown one of our historically oldest, strongest, and most loyal allies. But one thing's for sure, okay, when I look forward to a month from now, is I know that this will fuel our team. The mentality we have, the will we have to play for our country, the desire we have to go after this tournament in every way and to show on and off the pitch exactly what Canadian character is. So obviously I really look forward to the challenge of playing Mexico, but the tournament as a whole. And
there we go. There's a good chance we might get dinged for that because it was TSN, so I might have to cut that out later. But I thought it was worth posting and worth sharing because it was, somebody who is very much on our side.
Indeed. I'm glad you did that, Mr. Grizzly. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull us back to the sad subject. Sorry to do that, because there was some good sharing here from the kits in the chat, and I did want to make sure that I honored it so that it didn't go unspoken.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that is definitely an important clip, and we do remind me to refer to it before we do end the show, because this is very, very, very important what this man just did here and who he is specifically. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's a little disjointed. I didn't signal to you that I had more, so that's my fault. Kit Saucy here, I mentioned. For the most part, I'm estranged from my parents, and it's hard to relate to people from loving families at times. It makes me even more sad when people lose ones they are close to. Absolutely. Kit Jen, a quote from Khalil Gibran: "Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls, the most massive characters are seared with scars." I had never heard that quote, and I think I'm going to remember that one. That's a good one here. Kit Hugh, who's a teacher and often worked with Indigenous children, said, "I lost 3 students, murdered. I know their families instill grief with them. This is so real and true." Kid Jen going, "Right now I'm all of your moms." Yeah, sending out some love. Environmental Coffee House, empathy meters all the way to the right. Kit Lori Sue, foster kid here, yet the years of trauma and tears that were shed have printed me from feeling that proudly destroyed ever again. Immunity replaces it, yet empathy for others still exists. I'm guessing that printed might have been a typo here in this comment.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe gift, prevented me. Yes, probably prevented. Yet the years of trauma and tears that were shed have prevented me from feeling that proudly destroyed ever again. Saucy, family events at school were the worst. Indeed. Kid Carol, I lost my dad at 6, Mom a few years more ago. Felt more alone than I ever did. It's true, right? It's like, it's just final for some reason. Ket Tabby G, don't forget that it's generational. It doesn't stop at the child.
No, it does not. It doesn't.
Yeah. Kid Toronto Dan, I was in an open custody facility from 14 to 17, had my own place at 17 and a kid. It was sad, but it doesn't even come close to what that young lady and other Indigenous folks have endured. God bless her. Connie, losing a parent severs a tether that's unexplainable, but it's hard to feel grounded after that. You float through a strange space emotionally. Yeah. That strange space is really weird. Yes, just so much love and compassion right now in the chat from the Kits and Cubs. So thank you so much for sharing that much and agreeing to be so vulnerable, Kits and Cubs. With that, I just wanted to honor that because I think that is absolutely amazing. And there's other great, beautiful comments. I'm sorry, I can't read them all in here, but one more here from Kit Lori Sue because I relate to this one so much. One grows up managing the innate sense of worthlessness it evokes within one's soul. It's a wound that does not heal. It is managed. Yeah, that one lands.
Mm-hmm.
And you will often see that in classic overachievers, that they are motivated by an innate sense of worthlessness.
So, want to say thanks to Elaine, who sent me a link to Elle's Facebook page. I just forwarded it to you, sir, if you want to reach out. I know that Dan is trying to get a hold of her as well. So maybe we can get her on the show in the near future.
Okay.
So she can come in and say whatever she wants to say.
Yeah. Now, that gentleman that was making the comment that Mr. Grizzly showed about the United States and that whole 51st stuff, 51st state stuff, that is the new coach of Canada's men's national soccer team, Jesse Marsh. He's American. Oops. Sorry. He's American. And stood up and said that. And he didn't just say that at any moment. Right now, Canada is participating in the CONCACAF Nations League's playoffs. And they've reached the semifinal. They will be playing Mexico on March 20th at 10:30. And they're preparing for that match. So this is in the context of that, because they have recently just finished. No, this wasn't recent. Actually, it was a little more. So, yeah, this is and you will notice that in that quote, at one point he said "our country."
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah, I did notice that. I'm like, whoa, hey, he's bought in.
Yeah. So, thank you, sir, for coaching the team and taking it over and working to restore its good name.
Yeah, because we got some stuff to fix.
And for standing up for us in a moment like this, when other people are not being as vocal. So thank you. In times like these, we need allies, and when allies show up, we should recognize them. So very happy that happened. Okay, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show? All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. I just saw Mr. Grizzly give a look like, ugh. So he must have seen something on the screen. Oh boy. So do tell your peeps and poops all about us. We appreciate it when you do. If you would like to not miss an episode, particularly the podcast version, and would like to make sure that you get it every time, the QR code that will soon appear will bring you to our pod page. That's podpage.com/the truenortheagerbeaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click on subscribe, our audio format comes directly to you. You don't even have to go looking for it. We make it very easy. So thank you for that. If you would like to support us in other ways, kids and cubs, well, maybe you would like to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have some buttons waiting for you: like, share, and subscribe. If you click them, well, we get ourselves a little bit of happy, and it adds to our engagement and helps us with the algorithm. So please, if you would like to do as 13,000 have already done and subscribe to our YouTube feed, that would mean the world to us. Thank you so very much. Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, because we do indeed incur some costs in order to bring the show to you, internet subscription fees and subscription fees to various news sites and software and that type of stuff. So if you would like to help us, that would be very, very much appreciated. And you can do that by making a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can make sure that your favorite grizzly and beaver remain moist while they prepare and curate and analyze and deliver the news to you, hopefully in a format that you find entertaining, informative, and engaging. So if you would like to encourage us to do more, a little visit to the Hydration Fund via our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, or by scanning the QR code that has just appeared up there. And you can make a little contribution, and that would be, well, absolutely fantastic. And remember that all contributions instantly make you 17.8% more interesting at parties. So you get something from it too, other than the show, because we like to give you some, a little bonus. So thank you for all you're able to do there. Now, if you're not able to contribute, hey, financially, that's no problem, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And we love to hear from you. So why not write to us? truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. That's our email address. At trueeager at Blue Sky, or on the bad place on the shitter, right? Or maybe at our original page, True North Eager Beaver at Facebook. Or, hey, if you're listening here on YouTube, write down in the comments section below. Let us know what you think. All right. And that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is where you can send a direct transfer to us if you'd like to leave a tip. Make sure that we get 100% of your donation, and want your tip to be 100% Canadian, not going through PayPal or any of those American CE bro companies that seem to pay tribute to Donald Trump. So if you would like to donate directly, you can that way too. We appreciate everything that you can do. All your comments add to the show. We thank you. Because democracy is something that you do. You no longer have to vote in the Ontario election. It's over. So if you did, take one day off for you and one day off for everyone who didn't show up, because you did their work for them too.
Clearly.
What's wrong, Ontario? Come on, man. Quebec Liberal leadership race, which we'll probably be able to get to now that we're not covering an Ontario election. So hopefully we'll have some news for you about that, but please follow. We're going to be voting on March 9th very quickly. If you're an Ontario Liberal and, not an Ontario Liberal, Canadian Liberal, and have bought a membership to vote in the leadership race, the two debates are over, and you can already vote. That's the period has already started. Remember that you'll probably have to verify your identity and all that stuff before that you do. But that is open. They received 25,000 votes on the first day. So, and there was 400 memberships sold, I think, about that. So already people very much engaged. And also remember, Kits and Cubs, that if you live in Manitoba, you have a by-election coming up as well over there. So please do pay attention there. And also, Kits and Cubs, if you're in Alberta or elsewhere in Canada, and you do believe in freedom of expression, Nate Pike's fundraiser for his legal defense fund at the breakdown is still going on. He's closing in on a $200,000 raised, but you can do that by searching GoFundMe Legal Defense Fund for Nate Pike or the breakdown, and please make your donation there, and I will include the link here in the chat for those of you who would like to do that. All right, that's it for the democracy is something that you can do portion. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for our Kits and Cubs today?
Yeah, just remain calm. Don't panic. Look, there's nothing to get too upset about when it comes to this current government in Ontario. Doug is an idiot. That's not up for debate. And he's a wannabe mob boss, and he tries to act like a tough guy. But he's a pushover, as evidenced by the pushback on the Greenbelt.
He will back down if you push back.
If you push back, he backs down because he's a coward.
And he wants to be liked.
He desperately wants to be liked. So just push back. When he comes up with something that we think is terrible, we will bombard his office with letters to say, no, Doug, no. Calls and letters make a difference. Emails and text messages, well, they might make a difference to him personally, but politically speaking, you need to send a letter to his office, and it doesn't cost you anything other than the price of the piece of paper and the envelope. There's no postage. You just direct it to his office, and boom, he gets it.
Mm-hmm. Requests for meetings also.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's have a performance review meeting. Employee.
Well, he seems to forget that he works for us, right?
Yes, indeed. Mr. Grizzly and Kits and Cubs could be a tough world out there. So please be kind and gentle to yourselves. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock, and I will have a... You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Right.
I have two things here. What you've got something, I assume, sir?
Yep, yes I do. But go ahead.
Well, the first one, I got to share this with you because this is like, this was inevitable. You knew this was going to happen. So Ms. Ruby Dalla is now tagging Elon Musk and talking about rigged elections. My goodness, the Liberal Party dodged a bullet here. And from Ruby, replying to Elon Musk. Elon Musk, would you be infuriated? The Liberal Party kept $350,000 of my donors' money after they disqualified me to keep me off the debate stage against Justin Trudeau's best friend, Mark Carney. A rigged leadership race for Canada's next PM, an attack against democracy instead of Doge. It's a screen cap, so I can't show you anymore. But see, what's infuriating about that is she knew damn well it was a non-refundable deposit. After a certain date, you can't get any money back. Mm-hmm. That was not a secret. So she's trying to feign like ignorance, but no, you were disqualified because you broke the rules, Ruby. You don't get to make it up as you go along. There are rules, and if you disobey the rules, you are disqualified. Just like if you go against your governing body, they will pull your medical license or your license to practice psychotherapy, like Jordan Peterson. If you go against the governing body, if you break the rules, you will get punished. You had a certain time in order to withdraw and keep your money. You went past that date. You knew it. You don't get the money back.
Ruby, consider the $350,000 in investment in the marketing campaign you are leading now.
Yeah, this
and walk away.
This one right here. Rebel News launches petition calling on conservatives to draft Ruby following Dalla's ejection from the Liberal race.
Of course. Of course.
No one's surprised.
No, nobody saw that one coming.
Yeah, nobody saw that one coming. I did. The virtual ink on the e-dispatch from the Liberal Party announcing that Ruby Dalla had been disqualified from the race to replace Justin Trudeau had scarcely had time to dry before Rebel News commander Ezra Levant had fired up his YouTube studio to express his outrage. Although not, it's worth noting, his surprise that the party waited until a Friday afternoon to make the call to remove Dalla from the ballot. The official excuse was that a non-citizen worked on her campaign. Yet the Liberal Party itself allows non-citizens as young as 14 to vote in their leadership race. No, that's not true.
No, they don't. That's not true.
That's not true. That is a blatant lie. That is not true. You need to be 18, you need to be a Canadian citizen, and you have to prove it. It's pretty stringent what you need to show to be able to become a Liberal member and vote in the race. So that's a bullshit lie from Ezra Levant, who has nothing but bullshit lies to deal with.
He didn't update his thing since the last Liberal leadership race.
Yeah.
We went through all that in the foreign interference inquiry. Remember?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow. They will say anything. Mine is a little happier. Easter eggs. Some Canadians who are making us proud, and there are tennis players once again. Denis Shapovalov is in another semifinal took out some very high-ranked players along the way at a tournament in Acapulco, Mexico. We'll be playing tonight, a semi-final match that he is expected to win based on rankings at 9:30 to advance to the final. And Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's already won 2 titles this year and had a semi-final in Doha last week, is playing in the semi-final right now in Dubai against Quentin Alice from France. He lost the first set and they are tied in the second at the moment. Hopefully, Auger-Aliassime will be able to pull it out. A piece of not good news, but something we should be proud of. Tennis player Victoria Mboko, who we've been talking about a lot this year, because she won her first 4 tournaments. Finally lost a match after 20 wins in a row. And jumping from 333 in the rankings to 187 over the first 2 months of this year. That's a meteoric rise for this young lady. And now that she's in the top 200, you might start seeing her on TV now and then at a few tournaments. Again, when I say the next generation is doing very, very well here in Canada with regard to tennis, I am not kidding here. There are people just skyrocketing up the rankings. We also have many other players into tournaments. Justin Boulet won a doubles tournament last week as well. So lots of players doing a lot of great things. And a little thing going on, the World Cross-Country Ski Championships are taking place right now in Norway. And yesterday, it's not a spectacular result, but for Canada, it's a pretty big one, to be totally honest, because there's a lady whose last name is Gagnon. First name, can't remember off the top of my head, but placed in the top 30 in the world in the sprint distance category. I think she ended up 27th. And this was a competition that a lot of people, there were like well over 100 entrants in this one at the World Championships. So to score top 30, Canada cross-country ski program, not necessarily the strongest, is a huge achievement. So congratulations to her. And hopefully at some point I will be able to get her full name for you. But that was a major achievement because we don't hear a lot about our cross-country skiers. So I just wanted to point that out.
Not since
All right,
Becky
everyone.
Scott, anyway. All right, gotta go.
Yeah, not since Becky Scott, exactly. Everyone, have a great day.